Now this frame here, you can see the bees got into something that's a little darker. See how it was so clear? If you see up here by the top side, it's real light. Now this is into a darker honey. It seems like later in the season, you get things with darker pollens, and the honey ends up being darker, depending on what they're getting the honey from. Now if they get it to buckwheat, that's like the first one we showed you where it's really dark. Here you can see also it's the white in the center. And they built it out a little deeper. It's deeper than the frame is wide. There's a name for that, isn't there, Deb? Just drawn where they draw it out farther than the frames. Is in the 5-gallon bucket.
I think we have about a gallon in there, and then quite a bit in the strainer. You can see.
And if you look in the bottom of the extractor, it's right up to the top of the hole where it's coming out.
Several
there's a lot
gallons
in the extractor. Plus, it's not sitting quite level, so there's.
And we're only on our 4th frame right now?
No. We are on our 7th.
Okay.
Well, there are 6 frames of honey went through there. This is number 7 and number 8 that we're taking the caps off.
What do you think the temperature is right now?
I'd say it's probably about 80 degrees out.
About the 80s. So the honey's really moving, even without.
It really makes a difference. And if this was in the fall, we'd have way more bees over here helping us, because they'd find this honey and they'd come and get it and want to get it and put it back in their hive. Right now they are so busy with all the good nectar that's out there.
And
they're not really interested in this.
You can see some honeybees in the screen down here, which isn't uncommon.
Yes, there are some honeybees, and there are a couple of yellow jackets I saw go in there too. They tried to get something to eat, ended up getting stuck. Yeah, doing this is the warm temperature. You only got to crank this about half as much, because it flings out of there much better.
Sure smells good.
To watch that. If it starts getting too full, we'll have to close the gate. If you'll notice, the one thing about honey, there are no valves. It's all with gates, because a valve doesn't open far enough for the honey to run through.
Good thing you mentioned that. We're getting pretty close. Closing the gate.
I think we want to save that one really dark one. We'll get most of his honey out of the extractor before we
That sounds good.
mix the really dark one in.
And you said you believe that one's most likely a buckwheat honey?
I would think that one is buckwheat. I have some buckwheat here, and Doc has buckwheat at his place.
And how far away is Doc's place from yours?
it's probably about a short 2 air miles. 2 air miles is what you're supposed to have between. That way when we had, you divide a hive, I can take one hive over there and the bees will not come back home to their original hive. Ideally it's at least 2 miles.
How many hives do you have total?
Well, I started out the year with 7. One come through the winter. That one we divided it, and then it has swarmed twice, and we were lucky enough to catch both swarms, so now I have 10 hives. And the one that made it through the winter is now 4 hives.
It's pretty difficult to have the bees make it through the winter.
Yeah, it's a kind of a challenge, and that's one of the things that we're trying to figure out is what it takes to get them through the winter.
But what a positive experience this year with that one hive. Would you say definitely stronger than the rest of your hives?
Well, yeah, it definitely stronger than the hive, and I would also have to say that when I started working with the bees this spring, that hive definitely had an attitude. They weren't mean, but they let you know that they were protecting their hive. Now, as I said, when we get done with this, I will take these frames, go out in my orchard here, and we will take the frames of full honey out, and then we will put these drawn comb in right away, and then the little bees don't have to make more hive. They put more effort into making honey, so in the long run that gets us more honey for the season. This is a new experience. The first couple of years, the bees were mostly building hive, building comb. This year we have enough drawn comb to start with, and it's a very good nectar year that we're drawing honey before the end of the season. I wait until they are fully capped. That way the bees have dried the honey down to good keeping temperature, or a good keeping humidity without us having to do anything with it.
What would happen if you extracted honey without it being capped?
Depending on the consistency that it is, if it has an enzyme in it and the bees dry it down, if it's not dried down far enough with that enzyme in it, it can become rancid. So then you have to heat the honey to 140 degrees to kill that enzyme if you want to extract uncapped honey.
And many people prefer to buy honey that hasn't been heated up. Is that correct?
That's what it seems like, yes. And so I have not heated it, and it's less work that way also. And then there's no change in the consistency of it either. So.
Is it more apt to crystallize if you don't heat it up, or why does honey crystallize?
If you don't, that really depends on more on what the bees make the honey out of, what's in the nectar. If it crystallizes, Some crystallizes soon, some of it waits a while. But yes, if you heat the honey, you can heat it up to a pasteurization point and then it won't crystallize. So crystallized sugar is not a bad thing. Now if we open this again, it should really come pouring out.